Hi, men. I got two things that I'd like to talk about today that I believe tie in together pretty tightly. The first thing is that it is up to us to make sure that we understand the words that are being used to communicate to us, especially in this society or this time right now with COVID and all the things that are happening. The second is it is a man's calling to defend the weak. So the reason why I believe it's important to take a look and to understand the words that are being used to communicate to us is because we are being told two things in our society. I live in California, and I am being told very clearly from our government, from our governor, that we need to stay safe and that every life matters. So in those statements, there are two things that I believe are very important for us to take a look at. The word safety and how that is defined by those using it, and the word life and how that is defined by those using it. So to take a look first at the word life, I think we need to take a look at what the person saying life also believes about life. In California, it is very common. Our government has made this a state where people travel from around the nation to abort babies, right up to and very close to birth. Babies that have brain waves and babies that have heartbeats, babies that have limbs, babies that can be seen moving around, that we know the gender and all of those kind of things. So when they say life, it is different than what I define as life, because I would define that as a life. Also, that same government, the same people in those institutions that communicate life to us they would condone or they would support assisted suicide for those that would want to go to a hospital and commit suicide. And that also plays into their definition of safety as to what's safe. So it is okay for someone to go into a hospital. It would be okay for them to go commit assisted suicide. But it's not okay for us to go outside of our house and to take our life into our own hands in that way, shape, or form. Also, when they use the word safety, it is important to take a look at the breadth of other things that are going on that may also have to do with safety. I work in a school. I'm a program director for special education students. I'm a school psychologist, and I'm a board certified behavior analyst. And I have student faces in my mind that I know I sent home on March 13th when they went home to abusive families. I also know that the statistics on CPS cases and phone calls home have gone down by 75% to Child Protective Services. And that is not because, it's pretty commonly known that is not because there is less abuse or molestation going on in the home. It is also factual to say that 911 phone calls for domestic violence has gone up. So it is very easy to make the jump to say that there is more abuse going on in the home, but there are no mandated reporters to report for the kids who are being either abused or molested in their house because no one knows, because they don't see their teachers. Pediatricians have been shut down. Youth groups at churches have been shut down. All of these things where kids usually have contact with those that care about them, that can protect them and keep them safe, are not being contacted. What I know that in my state, there has been 0 deaths from COVID in the ages of 0 to 17. What I also know personally in our county that I live in, that there's been at least 2 suicides of kids in elementary age, one of which was 2nd grade. So when they say safety, you have to take into account what they mean by that. Don't just assume that when someone uses a word like life or safe, that they mean the same thing you mean. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm sharing you with what I believe about those words. Well, you need to define what those words mean for you. Secondly, it is our calling as men to defend the weak. And for me, to defend the weak means to stand up and stand for those that don't have a voice. In many cases, that can be little babies that have not been born. I do everything in my power to support those kids. I do everything in my power to support the kids who I sent home, who I know might be in a dangerous situation. We cannot just assume that the government is doing everything that they say they're doing, or that they understand the breadth of safety, the breadth of danger that keeping us safe from COVID might be putting kids in. We need to be paying attention as men to what is going on in our world. And it is on us to defend the weak. And from what I see and what I'm watching around our society and our world is that the weak are the ones being abused and oppressed the most. It is us to stand up and figure out what it means for us individually to stand up for the weak and for those that don't have a voice and who are in the shadows having terrible things happen to them. I don't want to be a downer today. I want to be an encouragement, but I want to encourage you to take a step up, pay attention to the words that are being used to you, stand up for the weak. I'm sure there's a way. There will be a way presented to you this week where you get to make a difference in someone else's life who might be weaker than you, that you can help, support, back up, defend. That is our job as men. So I encourage you to look for those opportunities. I encourage you to pay attention to what the words that are being told to you mean. I encourage you to figure out what those words mean to you. You don't have to take my definition. I'm not telling you what to think. I'm just telling you to think. We need to think. We need to know what we believe. We need to know why we were created. I believe that you were created with a purpose. I believe you were created with deliberate hands and that you are here for a reason. One of the greatest reasons that I was created is to defend the weak, and I believe the same for you. Figure out what that means in your life, and in God's name, giddy up.